Baxter. Hey, everybody.
I love poetry.
I love poetry.
Hey, everybody.
We were just discussing things we love. Poetry.
I love when you do that quote.
I love poetry. And I love scotch. And, of course, Baxter here. Anchorman, it's a great show. I'm running it, obviously. But, hey, guys, Inventory 11.
Mm-hmm. It's out. Welcome to it. So we're just going to go ahead and...
dive in?
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump in there. If you have any questions, by all means, throw down. As always, to find out what's new, you can go to the Welcome to PDQ Inventory node. And what's new in this version?
And, of course, you all know what I say right there. RTFM.
So we've added the tools library. And part of the tools library is that this is the old custom tools for the 17 of you that have you ever used that? The custom tools, they're just now referred to as tools. They've been pulled out of the preferences window. And we'll show you that, but we'll cover the tools library. It's similar to the package library and the collection library.
You know, it's been kind of interesting over the last couple of years. We hear what people are using those for, and it's like, man, it would be great if we just start collecting all that. And we are now doing it.
And it's a multi-step process. You know, right now we're just doing tools, and the tools library, just stuff that we can count on existing on the target machines. In the future, we will have tools that accommodate third-party utilities like sysinternals and stuff, things that will require you to have some additional media.
Yeah.
We just didn't do that now, just to help avoid confusion, try to get the framework laid down. Anyway, we'll cover the tools library and the overhaul of the remote command window. Mm-hmm. We're not going to go through each and every one of these, especially the smaller ones. And as part of the tools, you'll see those of you who've used variables in the old custom tools. Those variables have changed to instead of the percent, the Windows variables, they've gone back, or they've gone to the variables that we use.
The other thing I want to point out, the ability to restore a database through an elevated command prompt, guys, you can do it. Just if you're gonna do it, get a hold of support, okay? Because you can really, cause a lot of problems really fast there.
Yep.
So I'm just throwing that warning out to you right now, okay?
Yeah, just because you see a feature here doesn't mean every single time. Ooh, let's go try that. Yeah, the restore database. That's for when your database is having some problems.
Yeah.
When there's some corruption, and we've helped automate some of the common processes
repairs
that you
and
would
fixes
do.
there. Yeah.
Let's jump into it.
Okay.
All right. So once again, if you're used to going into your preferences window, where so many of your settings are kept. If you go to the custom tools, you'll just see a link. Custom tools have moved.
You guys are so nice. I'd just try and find it, everybody. Well, I'm a jerk. Well, yeah, it's a tool. It's my MO.
So yeah, tools are now on the.
Calling me a tool, and then we're pointing out where the tools are.
It's apropos. So tools are now node in your main collection window, or your main console window tree, and there's your tools menu, and it's with Pro mode. With Pro mode and Enterprise mode, you can create your own tools. With Enterprise mode, it's Enterprise you need for the actual tools library, but Pro mode you can create all the tools that you want and organize them. We've also added the ability to create folders to help organize it.
Yeah.
So just as a refresher, let's just go to Abraham, the computer Abraham here. You can go to your tools menu. And these are the built-in tools, or at least there's a few of these are custom that were upgraded from the previous version. So obviously, you can initiate a PDQ deployment to Abraham from here. You can open up the event viewer.
See, that's one of my favorites right there. I'm always troubleshooting something. Bring that event viewer up for me.
So these have been there. These have existed for a while. What we're giving you the ability to do, make it easier for you to create your own, and of course.
And then if we've got some that are just kind of universal, we put them out in the library.
Yeah. You can also get there by highlighting the computer in your main window, going to the tools menu or the context menu. Your right-click menu, go to tools, and let's go back over here to tools and just do a little bit of organizing.
Yeah,
How's that sound? If those of you who've seen that, we've got this is not part of the tools library. If you ever want this, we'll send it out to you. Just a little exe to do the remote registry.
This is the one you wrote, isn't it?
Yeah, years ago. It's years ago. If you notice, this is a big change from the way you'd set up a custom tool, the old custom tool in previous versions. When you open it up.
Obviously,
I'm editing it.
Got some options. You can do a command line or a PowerShell
Yep.
at this point.
Yep. So obviously, if you're going to do something native PowerShell, you choose PowerShell, and here the command window, and then you specify your command and the parameters. Notice this used to say, in the old way, this used to be or target.
Yep.
Like target host name or something like that. But now it is this where we're doing the @ and the $ open close parameters for our variables. You can also see. Pardon me.
Did I hit the wrong thing there?
Mm-hmm. We also allow you to use the drop down. These are the old variables. These have always been there: the target host name, target IP address. Because certain tools that you run, you're just going to need to have these parameters, and obviously you want these calculated at runtime. So if I'm selecting the computer Abraham, I want target to resolve to Abraham, etc., or to Abraham's IP address or MAC address, etc. But then we also give you access to the system variables if you have enterprise mode and you're using.
These are the variables that we maintain here.
Yeah, variables usually for the collection library, but you have access to them here if you so choose and you find the need for them. The shell, this is important. You have 3 options. You have the no shell, which this is, you use no shell in this case, the start reg 64, that's just a regular Windows executable. There's no command line console that's needed, so I just say no shell. Yeah, we're kicking it off with CMD, but we're not going to show a CMD window.
Basically, the rule on that is if there's a GUI that's going to pop up, you really don't need the shell.
Correct.
Okay.
Then there's also leave shell open. We'll show you some examples where you'd want to do that. And also close shell on completion. There's these 3 options. So for this one, I'm calling a regular exe. If you're going to call a sysinternals or something like that, for the most part, you're probably going to want to say no shell.
Yep.
Unless it's a sysinternals console output, like PS exec. For PS exec, you're going to want to leave shell open. Right?
So you can see the.
Anyway, and then of course you can always do your shortcuts. Now the old shortcut method, you had to actually type in the shortcuts. Here you just actually have to click in the ones that you want. So it's kind of hard to show you this. I've got the shortcut enabled, and it's just going to watch what I click. I just clicked Control-Alt-9 and then it picked that up. I didn't have to type in CTRL plus, et cetera, et cetera. So,
but if you really want to, you could type that.
Correct. That's how you can do that. Anytime you create your new tool and save it, it's going to be available from this context menu or whatever tools menu that you have. Perfect.
Nice.
All right. Now the tools library. Click on this little guy. We just have some basic ones. A lot of these are written by Chris, Charlie, Jordan over here, especially the PowerShell ones. And then, Annie, did you get some information from Jordan? He sent me an email and I forgot. I totally spaced bringing it up here. If you're going to use PowerShell, certain PowerShell commands that reach out and touch a target computer, you need to have the WinRM enabled.
Yeah. Yep.
And actually, we're gonna actually add a package to the package library to do that very thing. But in order to allow remote management, it's Windows Remote Management, you have to have that enabled, and it's somewhat of a manual process. But we can automate that using a package. So we watch for that. We're going to add that today. But Jordan may have some additional information. You have to run the quick config. Anyway, so what we're trying to do here, we added the category. So if you see a category here, these are event logs. Maybe I want to go, I want to get crash history and restart history. So you just select the ones that you want, get application errors, and let's do manage services. And I'm just going to grab a few of these local users groups. This was actually the result of our very first request.
Oh, that's right.
The tools library.
I remember that.
And then some name resolution. So we're just throwing out some categories here. So we'll do. I like this one because the flush DNS resolver cache, localhost. this is a example of when you're going to have a custom tool that doesn't actually touch a target computer, but it's just something that you want to run from your console. I'll show you that. And just a lot of times people will say to us, hey, I'm getting an error that there's a target name mismatch. I've got a computer, I can't scan it, I can't deploy to it, I get this error mismatch. That's usually a DNS error. Mm-hmm. So some of these tools can help you identify,
suss out some issues.
Yeah, suss out some issues. Maybe there's another computer that has that IP address, and both computers are registered in DNS with that IP, and you're hitting the wrong one, etc. So once you're ready to import the ones you want, you just click on the import selected, and now they're placed right over here. And you can organize these. I'm just going to click a new folder. Maybe we'll just do event logs.
And just drag all our event logs.
I'll just throw a couple of these event logs down in there. You get the idea. If dragging and dropping to a folder is a bridge too far, probably watching the wrong podcast. What do we have? You have
a question there, Kelly.
Okay, we have a question from Jason A. Are the custom tools we made previously going to now be included into the tools library automatically, or do we have to add them again or link them somehow?
Okay. Hey, Jason. Okay. Good question, especially since it highlights what this... Hey, Annie, mark this down as some usability testing. Thank you, Jason. So the tools library, that's almost like saying, if I built a package in PDQ deploy, would that be, and I upgraded to the next version, would that package be added to the package library? No, it's not going to be added to the package library. The library is maintained by us, and we'll add those tools as we see fit. But if you built a custom tool,
it will stay in your tools menu.
Correct. So it's not a tools library, but it is going to be in your tools.
Yeah, you won't have to rebuild it.
Yeah, for example, the remote registry that we had talked about, that was a custom tool, not part of the tools library, that was on this console. We upgraded it this morning, and it flew. Just so you know, if you might have to make some modifications. So for the remote registry, after we upgraded it, it worked fine, except for the shell was set to close shell on completion. I had to change that to no shell. So you might have to go in there and make one or two modifications.
We will convert the variables, assuming they're standard inventory variables.
Yeah, if they were the target host name, target IP address, we will convert those to the new
format,
the new naming convention. So anyway, but that's a great question. So no, it will not be added to the tools library. It will, however, be added to your tools. The system tool. This is what I want to cover. What is the system tool? Notice in this case, in the remote registry, I should probably use a different one since we don't offer that in the tools library. Let's go down to the one that we just
flushed in this.
Yeah. I'm gonna double click on this guy. So all we're running is an NS lookup against the target host name. That's the fully qualified domain name of the computer that you've selected. Because we are referencing, we're doing something in this command to a target, or referencing a target, this is not a system tool. Which means if you don't have this checked and you don't have a computer selected, notice if I have Abraham selected, I can go to tools and I can say, look up hostname. Mm-hmm. But if I don't have any computer selected, then I won't be able to run anything that's not marked as a system tool. Notice the flush DNS, that's a system tool. It does not require that you have a computer selected because it only does something on the target or on the whole
console. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So let's take a look at flush DNS. This is really just a way.
It's basically a way to refresh your console to make sure you've got the latest and greatest DNS in the event that you've made some changes and it just hasn't had a chance to update.
Correct. All we're doing in this one is ipconfig flush DNS. And since we're not referencing a target computer, that's fine.
It's more magical if you don't show them the command. I mean, think about it.
So that means I don't have any computer selected. I can literally just go up here to Tools, Flush DNS, and this is DNS. This is a mechanism with every computer really, but in Windows, every Windows machine has a DNS cache, so that it's not constantly having to hit DNS
server,
for any name resolution. The problem is, in an extremely dynamic environment, your cache may get out of date. So, Lex has a laptop that changes IP addresses as he moves it around. My cache may resolve to the old address. And sometimes you just need to flush the toilet, right?
There you go.
Flush DNS.
It's successfully flushed.
And this is an example of keeping the window open. Notice, remember, there are these options, leave shell open. Mainly because in this case, I want to see the results.
It actually happened, yeah.
If I didn't do that, if I just said close, run the command and then close shell, you might have to look quickly to see what happened.
Don't blink, yeah. Don't blink. There it was.
Was there another question?
Yeah, we have a question from Tim D. It's a big one, and he said make mine a double. So it's a two-parter. When running the new PowerShell commands within the tools, I received the message, the RPC server is unavailable. I get the same return running the command on Windows 7 64-bit and 10 64-bit. Part 1. What would be causing this error return? And part 2, since PowerShell commands are different for Windows 7 and 10, can you make adjustments to them under your Tools menu to fit your environment?
Hey, Tim. So this, thank you for your question.
Yeah.
I believe, and Jordan, if you're out there on the chat, correct us if we're wrong. Those machines need to be set up for remote management. So once you watch for that package. We're going to add today to do this. You cannot enable You cannot enable remote management from a tool, because the tool itself is going to be, if you're using PowerShell, is going to be using remote management. So you can't use remote management to, in fact, enable remote management.
The interesting thing, I did a little more research on that last night. Your firewall settings could also prevent that from happening.
You don't do research.
Okay, what am I saying? I knew it. I already know the firewall settings can prevent that.
Can't even read. That's adorable.
Let's not hit me with details.
Okay, so
somebody told me once there was firewall issues.
But your point is
your firewall
there could also be firewall issues. Absolutely.
Ow. That hurts because it's true.
See, it took that long to sink in.
That hurts because it's true.
It took that long to sink in.
Fastest way to shut down someone insulting you. Tell them it's true.
No. For me, that just eggs me on.
Does it?
Makes me want to do the whole thing in monosyllabic grunts.
You just want to see me cry, Dave.
Speak
You're just cold, man. I love you. I tolerate.
So yeah, Tim, that's probably the issue. I'm not sure if Jordan's on. If Jordan can confirm, but I believe that you would get that error, the RPC, because literally. By the way, remote management by default is enabled on Windows servers starting with 2012. Because they just figured, hey, how many admins are going to be actually sitting at that server? Yeah. For the most part, no. So it's enabled by default on servers, not on workstations. So since we're talking, most likely you're talking workstations, you mentioned in Windows 7, Windows 8.1. Yeah, you're going to need to enable that, buddy.
Did we answer part 2 of that question?
I think I tried to bring it all down, and it looked like it was mostly all...
Questions back up for you.
All right. Since PowerShell commands are different. Okay, on the Windows 7 and Windows 10, this might be more of a Jordan one. It really comes down to the version of PowerShell. Now, there might be some OS-specific commandlets for 7 and for 10, but it really comes down to what version of PowerShell you're running. We do have...
PowerShell 5, grab it, install it. It works great.
Yep. PowerShell 5 out there, we recommend that's what you deploy. Notice the PowerShell 5 package in the package library does not deploy to servers. And that was a cognitive decision. There was a lot of discussion, some fighting, definitely some crying coming from Lex's office, well, more than usual. And it was just determined that we're not going to install it that package won't install on servers because PowerShell 5, there are problems if you install it on certain SharePoint or Exchange servers, etc. So you'll have to do that. You can you can import the package and then change the OS conditions if you want.
Good luck.
But yeah, grab that. It really just try to get everything up to PowerShell 5. At least as a minimum, really, PowerShell 3.
Yep.
That's definitely a recommendation. But go for 5. Go for the gold. What was that, Kelly?
Question, if you're ready.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to tell
Right.
him no just to see if we can stop him.
Dear Shane and Lex, can the custom tools be allowed to be chosen when multiple computers are selected? Currently, they are all grayed out when multiple are selected. Dangerous Dave H.
Dangerous.
It's a good way to describe that question.
Yeah, that is by design at this point. We'll probably enable that. It's what we have to decide. Some commands are it was by design. We just didn't want to
Open a can of worms and not be able to understand
have mass failure for those things that are meant to just go against one computer. But we are planning on. We're discussing, I should say, Dave, allowing that. It would probably be an extra option in the tool if we do this to say allow on multiple computers simultaneously. If you notice, there are some of our built-in tools that will work. So I'm going to just select the one computer. Obviously, go to Tools, and you can see pretty much everything is enabled. The second I hit iCal and Alcone, even some of our built-in ones are not like remote desktop. Are you trying to remote desktop all of the computers you're selecting, etc.? So we don't want to flood you with options, and too many things can start looking a little too busy. And we take usability very seriously. We take ease of use very, very seriously here. So this is a cognitive decision, though we do know we probably need to accommodate that. We just are trying to find the
Baby
best way.
steps. Is it baby steps?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
What about Bob, right?
Yep, there.
Yeah,
Baby
there you
steps.
go.
Oh, what a great movie. All right, podcast over. I'm going to go watch What About Bob. There's just nothing about Bill Murray that's even remotely bad. That man is a god.
I even loved him in Zombieland.
What do you mean even? That was
Just
epic.
a little. It was like a cameo. It was like short.
It was.
I
It was
loved it.
perfect.
He died. It was
What do you
awesome
mean
when he
even?
died. It was perfect.
He used the spoiler alert.
Oh, oops.
Thanks, Lex.
Well, it is called Zombieland.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway,
I saw Eddie Van.
this is the place to come to talk about movies that have been out for 7 years.
Yes, that's true.
And then again, What About Bob is
Even older.
24, 25 years.
Classic.
We suck. Anyway, do we have any other questions?
Yes, we do, as a matter of fact. Dear Shane and Lex, can the remote registry tool access current user if they're logged in? Sincerely, Dan S.
The remote registry, that was the exe that...
The one that you just ran that you wrote.
Okay, the answer to that is no, and that's only because this uses regedit. Regedit doesn't have there's really, I've never been able to uncover a command line or anything that you can do to automate opening up regedit and then, calling regedit and saying load a remote computer's registry. It's always had to be a manual thing. That's why I had to build this years ago to actually just freeze freeze the console and send the keystrokes and stuff like that. So I'm gonna we'll go to Carla. This just uses regedit, remote registry. Notice it's just automating those parts of connecting to a target computer. And regedit only exposes the HKey users and HKey local machine. Does not do current users, sorry. That is a limitation of regedit, and that's all that this is using. Unless we have other questions, I want to move on. We have made additional modifications. This is a two-step process. In version 10, we almost completely overhauled the remote command window.
Yeah.
Now, we've been talking about tools. Remote command, different from tools. Tools are something that you execute on the console, on your actual console machine, and you may reference target computers. So when you're saying, I want to I wanted to resolve this computer name. You're still running that NS lookup on your console. A remote command, on the other hand, always goes out to the target computer. It creates a service and then executes whatever command you specify from that, as though it were locally executed. We have modified even more that window. Open up Carla again, go to the remote command tool. And in the remote command tool, remember we did add the ability to choose whether you're running this PowerShell or Command Shell. We allowed the Wake on LAN. You'll see an Options tab. This is where you can say Scan After. We added the ability to say I want to enable, after running this command, a new inventory scan.
New scan.
Yeah, it's been a request out there for a while. The Wake on LAN, all these options have all been moved to the Options tab. So if I want to submit this remote command, but the computer may be offline, enable Wake on LAN, you can do that. Of course, Wake on LAN has more prerequisites.
Has to be set up on the machine
There's
itself.
yeah, BIOS, UEFI, even the NIC.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have to have the correct IP address and you have to have the correct MAC address and all in inventory. But anyway, assuming everything's good, Wake on LAN will work. But the scan after is important. Now, when you do, those of you who have done the uninstalls, if you go to inventory and go to the application, I'm just going to look at 7-zip. And I'm going to right-click on 7-zip and say uninstall. Now, those of you who've been using this before, you know, unless it's an MSI, the MSI, we automatically make it silent because we know what to do. With a lot of these programs, we don't know what those silent parameters are.
You need to add those.
All we do is grab the uninstall string from the registry. In this case, you're going to have to make this one silent for 7-zip. I believe it's just a slash uppercase S. But by default, when you initiate, because this just opens the remote command window, but when you initiate an uninstall, it does set the scan after that way. So I'm going to say run.
That was my favorite program on Carlin, by the way.
He was just waiting for me to hit the button.
Get it.
He had that.
Here it comes.
He had that
I had that one
chambered.
That chambered all day. Yeah.
All right, so that one succeeded. But now, notice that Carla. You can see Carla right there behind me. Yeah, the scan. It's scanning. You don't have to go in and initiate that scan manually. It's just going to kick it off for you. Just make sure that actually, in fact, worked. There we go. It's gone.
Gone. Excellent.
So you have that extra. You have the obviously we added the Wake on LAN last version, but you have the scan after. We've added the options tab, making the remote commands just work that much easier for you. Remember, remote commands, they have to be silent. There's no.
Yeah. If the screen pops up, it's going to do that. It's just going to error.
It's not going to pop up. That's the problem. It's not,
that's the
point, in PDQ deploy, when you deploy, almost always your deployments are going to be silent. But we do have the option to say, hey, run this step in deploy as the logged on user because I want to display a window. You don't have that option in the remote command. So if there's any input that is needed, a question that needs to be answered from a command that you're running, it's going to time out.
Yep.
That's always been an issue
yeah.
with remote command. That's always been a limitation.
But the nice thing is
by
you've
design.
got the string and you can build a package with deploy.
Correct. Yeah, with remote commands and the tools, it adds to your arsenal. You're almost untouchable.
Your admin arsenal.
That's right.
Yeah, I love that.
All right. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Really quick before we do that, if you do have computers, remember you've got. Another thing, you've got computers that you can mark as do not scan. These are whether you're adding an IP phone or something that doesn't have Windows, Linux machine. We've enabled even more. Once you mark a computer as do not scan, there's even more fields in the computer window that you can edit.
Yep.
That was a big request, and we've accommodated that. So.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. I'm gonna do a little shout out. Kelly's favorite band, The Cult.
Gee, thanks.
I'm wearing one of my 18 Tom Waits shirts.
Nice.
Hey, cheers,
watching,
everybody.
guys.
Rock on.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Our winners for the PDQ swag are Tim D and David H. So if you guys will email us, webcast@adminarsenal.com, we'll get you hooked up. We'll see you guys next Thursday.